God, in the name of the Most High.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، حمدا كثيرا طيبا طاهرا مباركا فيه، وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا، وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان، واجعلنا من عبادك الراشدين. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and peace and blessings be upon His beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Continuing inshaAllah with the history of the Khulafa, and in the history of the great Khalifa from the four Khulafa al-Rashideen, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. And we mentioned last week, we began with one of the very important aspects of the Khalifa or the Khilafah of Umar radiyallahu anhu, which was what is called, or what was later on known to be called as al-Hisbah or Nizam al-Hisbah, which is very close or similar to the idea of police or policing. And al-Hisbah, as Umar radiyallahu anhu, it began in that time, which the definition of Hisbah, as we said last week, is to enjoin the good if it is left and to forbid the bad if it is done. So it's not only forbidding the bad, it's not only saying do not do the bad, but also if the good is left, to order to do the good. Yarhamkumullah. To order the person to do the good. That's why Nahi al-Munkar and Al-Amr bil-Ma'ruf are two things that go hand in hand. Two things that go hand in hand. That's why we mentioned last week that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned about the Sahaba, that when we gave them firmness and reinforcement in the land, الَّذِينَ إِن مَكَّنَّاهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, the ones that are given firmness in the land, they do four things. أَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةِ, they establish the salat. وَآتَوُوا الزَّكَاةِ, they pay the zakat. وَأَمَرُوا بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, and they order, they enjoin the good. وَنَهَوْا عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ, and they forbid and prohibit the bad and the evil. So it is a very important aspect within the society of the Muslimin. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in many verses in the Qur'an, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. And let there be from amongst you a group, ummatun, a group that call to the good. And this is, the ulama, they say there's two verses. One, socially within the Muslim society, which is this verse, يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ, they call to the good, they order to do the good, and they forbid the evil. They enjoin the good, they forbid the evil, and they are the successful ones. And they are the successful ones. The other verse is for the non-Muslimin, which is كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. You have been, or you were, the best of nations that have been sent out to the people, to the disbelievers, to the people who haven't got iman or haven't believed. You ordain, enjoin the good, prohibit the bad. وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ, and you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And many verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in the Qur'an. And something that is very, very important, and to show the effect that leaving Al-Amr bil-Ma'ruf and Nahi al-Munkar, the effect that it has on the people themselves, and it has on society. For Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, with regards to the person themselves, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said in the hadith, مَنْ رَأَى مِنْكُمْ مُنْكَرًا فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ. Whoever sees a munkar, a sin, something bad, something forbidden happening, let him change it with his hands. The one who has the authority to change with his hand. The one who has the authority to change with his hands. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِلِسَانِهِ. If he can't with his hands, he doesn't have the authority, then he changes it with his tongue. He speaks about it. He talks about it. He brings people to the attention of the matter. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِقَلْبِهِ. If he can't, then with his heart, then let him what? then let him change it, hate it in his heart. وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. And that is the lowest, weakest point of Iman. That you see the bad, you see the forbidden, and the only thing you can do is what? Is to hate it in your heart. Now imagine or look at the people and their stance towards the munkar. How many people out there dislike it or hate it in their hearts or try to change it in their hearts? Let alone they love it or they want it or they are dwelling within it. So it has an effect on the person himself, which is the lowest level of Iman. The person who doesn't enjoin the good, who doesn't call to the good, means that he doesn't have any good himself, or he lacks the good in himself. And the one who doesn't forbid the bad, when he sees the bad, not even to the extent where he hates it in his heart, then this person has reached a very low level of Iman. Where you're able to walk past the munkar, where you're able to walk past the haram, and it has no effect on the person's heart or has no effect on the person themselves. And the other, to show you the extent of the importance of this, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he is in a position of authority. He's a prophet. When he saw a Sahabi walking past with a gold ring, it is known that for the males in Islam, it is prohibited to wear anything gold. Ring, necklace, anything gold, watch, anything that is made out of gold, it is prohibited for them to wear, to adorn. The females is different. For when he saw a Sahabi walking past and he had a gold ring on, he had a gold ring on. Nabi sallallahu being in a position of authority, what did he do? He went to the Sahabi, took the ring off his finger and threw it on the floor. He says, does one of you want to go and adorn or to wear يَعْمُدُ أَحَدُكُمْ إِلَى جَمْرَةٍ مِّن نَارٍ فَيَجْعَلُهَا فِي يَدِهِ. So the one of you, he will go to a piece of fire, of coal, and he'll put it intentionally in his hand. It's like the person, because he's got a gold ring on. And the person, he knows it is prohibited. It's like the person, he'll go and intentionally grab a coal of fire and put it in his hand. That's how bad the situation is. And then he threw it on the floor, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Sahaba, they went to the companion and said, pick it up, go sell it. If you're not going to use it, go sell it. He goes, by Allah, I will not benefit from something that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he threw on the floor. And he gave it away in charity. He gave it away in sadaqah. Not in wallah, he left it there. No, he took it and he gave it in charity. So even the person themselves, the one who sees the munkar, who sees the bad, and we are living in a time and era that the munkar is out there. The munkar is out there, and it's out there with a vengeance, as they say. And it's out there, it's being not only performed, but it's being advertised. And it's being called to. And the good is being forbidden. The opposite, like Bani Israel. Bani Israel, they used to what? They used to forbid, enjoin the bad and forbid the good. They used to enjoin the bad and forbid the good. Even to the extent that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says in the hadith, he goes, from the beginning of the decreasing of Bani Israel and them being in the position that they were, is that one of them would see a man doing the haram. And he'll walk past him, he'll say, ittaqillah. He'll tell that person, he'll tell him, ittaqillah, why are you doing the wrong? Leave what you are doing. And then the next day he'll walk past that same person, he's doing the same thing. The first day he walks past, he looks at him, ittaqillah, you are doing wrong. Fi Allah, you are doing wrong. The next day he'll walk past, he's doing the same thing, he'll go sit with him and eat and laugh and drink with him. He became his friend. And he warned him once, he didn't listen, he went and became his friend and sat with him. Even though he's still doing the evil, still doing the bad. So it's not sufficient enough that the person, he just calls against the evil, forbids the evil, and then goes and sits amongst it, or goes and is amongst it, or is amongst it, with the delusion sometimes, unfortunately, that I'm there doing da'wah, or I'm there calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months go by, and the person is what? And the person is sitting and doing the haram himself. That's why it takes very strong iman. That's on a personal level, weakness of iman, joining the people. On a ummah level, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what did he say? وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ لَتَأْمُرُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَلَتَنْهَوُنَّ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said that by the one whom my soul is in his hands, you will enjoin the good and you will forbid the evil. فعل أمر, an order, لَتَأْمُرُنَّ, that you will surely enjoin an order and you will surely forbid the evil, or what? أَوْ لِيُشِكَنَّ اللَّهُ أَن يَبْعَثَ عَلَيْكُمْ عِقَابًا مِنْهُ. Oh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will certainly soon send a punishment from Him amongst you or upon you. ثُمَّ تَدْعُونَهُ فَلَا يُسْتَجَابُ لَكُمْ. Then you will call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, lift this iqab, oh Allah, lift this punishment, oh Allah, take away this punishment, فَلَا يُسْتَجَابُ لَكُمْ. You will not be answered. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not answer that call. So this idea of al-amr bil-ma'roof wal-nahy anil munkar is a matter that, because of the importance of it, it became a position which was known later on as nizamul hisbah. And at the time of the Khulafa al-Rashideen, the Khulafa themselves used to take upon themselves this job. We mentioned Umar last week, how he battled and how he fought against the evil, in forbidding the evil in many ways, in the position of Tawheed, when it came to Tawheed, when it came to the ibadat, when it came to the marketplace, when it came to forbidding the evil in the society. Umar radiallahu anhu, he used to do this himself. He used to go out himself. And we were up to the last position of Umar radiallahu anhu, or the last place in which Umar radiallahu anhu, he used to forbid the evil, which was what was later known as the night watch of Umar radiallahu anhu, or the night patrols of Umar radiallahu anhu. Where Umar radiallahu anhu, he used to go out at night, and he used to have night patrols, which were known as al-asas. Al-asas was the night patrols in which they used to do. The people during the day, the munkar is less done during the day, at those times at least, because the sun is out, the people can see, people are out on the streets, people are around, so the munkar is less. When the night comes and everyone is in their houses and the shayateen are out, this is when the what? This is when the munkar, the evil begins. That's when Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told us what? By Isha, khalas, have your kids at home. Be inside, don't be out. Don't be amongst the streets. Why? Because the shayateen are out there, lurking, searching for people to grab and to snatch, and to take control of them and to lead them towards the haram. That's why whenever you see someone out, unless the person is out with an intention of doing good, even if they're out there for no reason, then that being there for no reason will become a reason. Or they'll become something bad from behind it. That's why it's very important to preserve and to protect, especially our children, during the night time. For Umar radiallahu anhu, and this used to be the center, this used to be the core of policing at the time of the Khulafa al-Rashideen. And during the time of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu used to take that job. He used to walk around the streets of Medina during the night and patrol the streets of Medina. Make sure there's nothing going on, make sure there's no problems, no issues, nothing's happening at night, no evil, no thieves, protecting caravans, going past caravans if they have come to Medina. If people are tenting, they are visiting Medina, patrolling, preserving them. This used to always be done. And Umar radiallahu anhu, in his khilafah, he used to do it himself, and he used to take with him Aslam, his Mawla Aslam radiallahu anhu. And sometimes he used to take with him Abdurrahman ibn Auf. And they used to walk around the streets of Medina. And to make sure that there's nothing going on, no funny business happening, no people plotting evil, protection that was done or that they used to carry out in the streets of Medina. And this was done by himself, as we said, by Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, in Medina itself being the central hub of the Muslimin, being the capital of the Khilafah at that time, was Medina. And that's where everyone used to flock into, everyone used to come to Medina. So it was very important that there was a night patrol, a night watch that was done in Medina itself. And there are many different, or the matter of the night patrols with Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, it didn't just end at forbidding the evil. No, a lot of things that took place during the night patrol of Umar radiallahu anhu, there were rulings that were done because of the night patrol. Because he used to see things, learn things, see the needs of the people. There used to be changing of rulings within the dawlah, within the state of the Muslimin itself, as we'll come to see. Many things he would change his mind, or he would change around, he would fix, because of what he used to see during the night patrols when he would be out. One of the things that took place was when Umar radiallahu anhu, during one of his night patrols radiallahu anhu, he came across a caravan that was in Medina. And when this caravan was in Medina, there was a child that was crying. So Umar radiallahu anhu, which is the ruling that happened of prohibition of hastening the weaning of infants, and he taken away al-fitam. So Umar radiallahu anhu and his slave Aslam, that some merchants, they came to Medina and camped in the masjid or around the masjid. So Umar, he said to Abdurrahman ibn Auf, shall we go and guard them tonight? We'll sit around and we'll guard them. He said yes. So they guarded them overnight, they prayed, and Umar heard a child that was crying. So he went towards him and said to his mother, fear Allah and look after your child. Why is your child crying? Fear Allah, look after your child. Then he went back to his place, and at the end of the night, he heard the child again crying. So he went to his mother and said to her, woe to you, what a bad mother you are. Innaki umma su'in. You're a bad mother. Why is your child crying so much? Why has your child not stopped crying all night? She said, O slave of Allah, Ya Abdullah, I am distracting him from nursing, but he refuses to accept that. I'm trying to distract the child from what? From nursing. Yani I'm trying to wean him so that he eats by himself, but he's not accepting. He's too young. He's not accepting. He said, why are you doing that? She said, because Umar does not give a stipend, except he doesn't give a portion of money except for the child who has been weaned or who has weaned. Yani there wasn't a portion of money, there wasn't a amount of money that was given for the child except when that child is weaned. Before the child being weaned, because he's what? Dependent on the milk of the mother, so he doesn't need any money, doesn't need any welfare, doesn't need to take any wealth from the Khilafah. He said, how old is this son of yours? She said, such and such months. He hadn't even passed a year yet. He said, woe to you, do not hasten to wean him. He said, do not hasten to wean him. When he prayed Fajr, Aslam, he said that the people could not hear his recitation clearly because of his weeping. When he prayed Fajr, Umar radiallahu anhu, after hearing this, after seeing this, when he prayed Fajr, the people couldn't understand, couldn't hear his recitation because of his weeping, because of his crying in the salat. And then he got up and he said, woe to you, O Umar, how many of the Muslim children have you killed? Woe to you, O Umar, how many of the Muslim children has he killed? Then he ordered a caller to call out, do not hasten to wean your children, for we will give a stipend to every child born in Islam. And he wrote the instructions to that effect to all the regions. And because of this, he changed the ruling that had been set, that the child is only given a amount of money when he is weaned. When he witnessed this, he changed that ruling altogether. And he said the child from birth is given an amount of money. Weekly, monthly, yearly, half yearly, whatever it is. So he changed the ruling of the child being weaned because of what? Because of the incident that took place while he was doing his night patrols. Setting a limit on how long the soldiers, they stay out in jihad, in fighting, in the openings of the Muslimin. One of the results of the night patrols, when he went out one night patrol in Medina and he heard a woman in great distress saying the verses, "This night is too long and I cannot sleep as I have no one to be with me." Who is with me? My husband, yani. By Allah, were it not for Allah, I would have made this bed shake. That's to show the extent in which she had reached because of the absence of her husband. That it had reached the stage where she is in need of her husband. So Umar said, "May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on you." Then he sent some clothing for her and some money and wrote a letter telling her husband to come back. That you have been away for too long. In another narration, he went to the door of Hafsa, his daughter radiallahu anha, al-Mu'mineen, and she said, "O Amir al-Mu'mineen, what brings you at this time to the door?" He said, "O my daughter, how long can a woman put up with her husband being away?" How long can a woman put up with her husband being away? What's the maximum that the woman can be or can be without her husband? She said she can put up a month, 2 months, 3 months. Beyond 4 months, khalas, it's too much. 4 months and over is too much. She will lose her patience. So Umar wrote that the soldiers should not be kept away for more than 4 months. Any soldier that is going out to fight for jihad should not be left or should not be kept out of Medina or out of the house or the area in which he lives in for more than 4 months. This is how Umar, he set a limit for the soldiers who were going away from their wives, and no one disputed with him concerning this. None of the Sahaba disputed with Umar radiallahu anhum. As for the soldiers who didn't adhere to the limit, he set a limit radiallahu anhu, but not everyone adhered to it. It's not fard, it's not wajib. So that everyone who didn't adhere to it, Umar checked on them before setting a limit. After he found out the names of those who had been away for a long time. Some of the people, you hear some of the stories, some of them away for years. Away from their families for years. The person, he goes for jihad and while he's there he forgets. Sometimes they even lose track of time. They lose track of time. So some of them were gone for years. The famous story of Farouk, he was away for 20 years before he realized that I need to go back to my wife or I need to go back to my family. 20 years. And at that time, you need to understand, at that time there was no communications, there's no telecommunications. There's no, Allah, send a WhatsApp, send her a photo, or call her on Viber, or any of these things. No, it was communication at that time, even though in the Khilafah itself it was quick. They had specialized messengers who, if Abu Bakr or the Khalifa needs to send a message to Al-Kufa, Baghdad, or to Ash-Sham, which is there's a big distance. You can't just send a letter and wait 2 weeks for it to get there. No, there was a specific, they had people who were made for this job, and horses that were bred for this job. For the job of what? Of just bang, one hit. From Medina all the way to Kufa. From Medina all the way to Kufa. And that's what the Arabian horses are known for. The Arabian horses are known for what? For the stamina. They have stamina in them. They can go for long periods. So the Arab, they used to have this. Abu Bakr would send a letter today, by tomorrow it's in Al-Kufa in Baghdad. The rider would leave Fajr, the next day he's there, khalas, one hit, gone. The only stopping is to eat and to pray. And that's it. So whoever was absent or went away for more than 4 months and stayed away for a long time and had not sent any maintenance to their families during the absence, he wrote to the commanders asking them to give them the following options. They were either to return to their wives, either you come back, or send them sufficient maintenance, sufficient nafaqah, expenditure. You want to leave, you want to go out for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you want to leave the family with nothing behind. No, you can't do that. You want to leave, you want to go, by all means. but you have to leave something behind for the family. Or you leave something, sufficient maintenance, or you divorce them. Or you leave them. But if they divorced them, they were obliged to send the maintenance to cover the past period. And if the husband had left for 2 years, 3 years, and during that 2 or 3 years he didn't send any nafaqah, he has to, if he's going to divorce her, he has to pay her the nafaqah of the 2 years, 3 years that he didn't pay her or didn't give her anything. He has to make it up. The back pay. It comes back. And he has to pay it. Protecting the honor of the mujahideen. When the mujahideen were out, and this is a problem that even till our days today, is protecting the honor of the mujahideen. Or any army has this problem, where the army men, they go out and they are gone for sometimes months, year, more than a year, to protect the honor of the mujahideen. Where Umar radiallahu anhu, where he heard during his night patrols, as he's patrolling the streets of Medina, he heard a female saying poetry. And she said 2 lines of poetry. She said, if there any way, or is there any way to get some wine and drink it? Is there any way to reach Nasr ibn Hajjaj? So Umar radiallahu anhu, as soon as he heard this, he said that there's something wrong. There's something that is being plotted and planned to do the haram. So after hearing this, Umar radiallahu anhu, he sent for Nasr ibn Hajjaj. He heard that name, is there any way for me to reach Nasr ibn Hajjaj? So he sent for Nasr ibn Hajjaj the following morning and saw that he was from the most handsome people of Medina. He was very handsome. He was a very handsome man. With very nice hair. He had very well groomed hair. So he ordered him to shave his hair. He told, come. This had too much fitna. Too much fitna. Shave your hair off. So he says he shaved his hair off, he became even more beautiful. He became even more, he looked even more beautiful. So he said, okay, put the amama on him. Put on him the amama. He said, he put on the amama, he became even more. He became even more attractive. So he said, there's nothing that we can do except we send you to Al-Kufa, to the area of soldiers and kada. He said, go live there. You are causing fitna in Medina. You are causing fitna in Medina amongst the females. And later on, that female that Umar, he heard her poetry at night, when they heard that he had sent away Nasr bin Hajjaj, she wrote abiyat herself, poetry herself. She said, this wasn't what was intended, this wasn't what was, I was saying. I wasn't like I was going to go and do it. It was just, heck, a spur of the moment. A slip of the tongue, it came out. In a time of hardship, at a time of trial and tribulation. So Umar radiallahu anhu says, it wasn't because I thought or I had doubt that you were going to do anything, but it had reached me that he was going around and he was looking at the females of the Muslimin, so I had to stop him. And it wasn't just because of your poetry that khalas, that's it, yalla, kick him out. No. There had been doubt arising around him in Medina that he is up to no good. Nothing was, there was no circumstantial evidence against him, but the doubt was there. The doubt was there. So he closed that door. He goes, send him to Al-Kufa. Send him away to Al-Kufa. He said he never came back to Medina until after the death of Umar ibn al-Khattab. Until after the death of Umar ibn al-Khattab. So these were things that, closing the door of fitna. Closing the door of fitna. There's a slight possibility, there's a doubt that it could lead to haram. It could lead to haram. The position of the believer is what? No, you leave it. You leave it. And that's why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says in the hadith, that you will not reach the high status of taqwa, of to be from the muttaqeen. لن يبلغ أحدكم أن يكون من المتقين حتى يدع ما لا بأس به مخافة ما به بأس. That you will never reach that high level of taqwa until you leave that which is nothing wrong. Al-mubah, the permissible. Everything that is mubah, that which the person is not rewarded for doing it and is not punished for not doing it. He will be rewarded for doing it if the intention is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like the person who feeds his family, the person who sleeps at night with the intention of waking up for tahajjud, waking up for fajr, the person who works with the intention of feeding his family, the person who sleeps with the intention of strengthening his body. These are all things that are mubah, permissible. If the person just does them for the sake of doing it, he will not be rewarded. But if the person, he does it with an intention that, masalan, I'm working to feed my family, I'm working to take care of my family, you will be rewarded the greatest of reward. You will be rewarded the greatest of reward. Like we mentioned previously, the person who goes to sleep and he puts the intention of waking up for tahajjud. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said that if the person goes to sleep and he has the intention of waking up for tahajjud, sincere intention, goes to sleep 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, sets the alarm for 4 o'clock, says, inshallah, I'm going to wake up today for tahajjud. The alarm goes off at 4 and he doesn't wake up, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said that he will be rewarded as if he wake up for tahajjud. As if he wake up for tahajjud. But the person who has the sincere intention, not the person, he puts his alarm for 4 o'clock and he's gone to bed at 2 a.m. in the morning, or 3 a.m. he's gone to sleep and he puts the alarm for 4 o'clock. Inshallah, if the house is falling down, you won't wake up. So the intention here, it plays a big role. That the person, you won't reach the levels of muttaqeen until you leave that which there's no harm in. Al-mubah, the permissible, from fear of falling into what? Into the haram through that permissible. Or through that action which is mubah, which is open. That's why Al-Hasan al-Basri, he says that I met the Sahaba, and that which they used to say was what? We leave 10 doors of halal from fear of falling into one door of haram. We will leave 10 doors of halal, 10 opportunities of halal, or 10 ways of the halal from fear of falling into one way of the haram. This was their mentality. This was how they thought, radiyallahu anhum, to stay away from what? To stay away from the haram. Another incident that took place during the night patrols of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, that Aslam, the freed slave of Umar, he said that Umar went out to Harratul Waqim, which was an area just on the outskirts of Medina. Medina at that time, not as much today, was on the two sides of Medina, there was what is called Al-Harra, which is the rocks, the dark rocks and the stones that they make like a little hill. So it's like it's preserved. That's why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he mentioned Medina. He said, Madinatun bayna harrataini, between two, it's like two walls of stones and rocks, that it's very hard for an army to come in from either side. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that was one of the choices that he made, or that was one of the things that was shown to him in Medina. So he went out to one of those areas radiyallahu anhu, and he went with him. And we were in As-Sarar, we saw a fire burning. We saw a little fire burning from behind. So he said, "Oh Islam, I see here some travelers who are being held up by the night and the cold. Let's go." So we went running, and when we came near to them, we saw a woman with her children. A famous story that is known. We saw a woman with her children, and there was a pot over the fire, and the children were crying. And Umar, he said, "Peace be upon you, O people of the light." He did not want to say, "O people of the fire," not to say that you are people of Ahlul Nar. He said, Ahlul An-Nur, or Ahlul Daw. She said, "And peace be upon you," he said, "May I come closer?" She said, "Come closer if you want to do some good, otherwise leave us alone. If you're coming to do good, ahla wa sahla. If you want to do anything bad, then leave us alone." He came closer and said, "What is the matter with you and your children?" She said, "The night and the cold held us up." He said, "What is the matter with these children? Why are they crying?" She said, "They are hungry." He said, "What is in the pot?" She said, "Water to calm them down until they fall asleep." The only thing that's in the pot is water. There's no food, there's nothing there. But just the kids, they see the pot, they think that there's food in there, they get happy. And I'm just stirring it, just to what? Just so that they fall asleep from watching me stir the pot, they'll fall asleep. But there's no food in the pot. And Allah will judge between us and Umar. There's nothing in the pot, I'm stirring it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge between us and between Umar. So Umar, he said, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on you. How could Umar know about your situation? She said, how come he is in charge of our affairs but he's not aware of our situation? And she doesn't know that she's speaking to Umar. She doesn't know that she's speaking to Umar. So she said, Allah is the judge between us and Umar. So Umar, he's saying, no, what's Umar got to do with it? How is Umar supposed to know of your situation? He says, isn't he the Khalifa? Isn't he Amir al-Mu'mineen? Isn't he the one who's responsible for the affairs of the Muslimin? Then he's responsible. How, when, why? He's responsible for our affairs. But he's not aware of our situation. He turned to me and said, let's go. So we set off running until we came to the room where the wheat was stored of the Muslimin. He took out a sack of wheat and a little fat, a little ghee, and said, hoist it up onto me. Put the bag of wheat on my shoulders. I said, I will carry it for you, O Umar. He said, will you carry my burden for me on the day of judgment? He said, you want to carry the burden now? You want to carry the bag of wheat now? Will you carry my burden on the day of resurrection? May you be bereft of your mother. ثَكَلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ. You're going to hold this bag. Are you going to hold the burden of Umar on the day of judgment for me? So I hoisted up onto him and he set out running and I ran with him. When he reached her, he put those things down. He took out some of the wheat and said to her, prepare it for me while I cook it for you. So he didn't just put it there and leave. He said, no, take it out, yalla. We'll start cooking it and preparing it together. Who is this Amir al-Mu'mineen? Who is this the Khalifa of the Muslimin? The person who is the highest or is the most powerful man at that time, the most powerful position on earth. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. He's out doing night patrols. Not only that, he's out there cooking for the people and those who are in need. He started blowing beneath the pot and I saw the smoke coming out of the beard of Umar. He's got his head under the pot and he's blowing the smoke and I can see the smoke going through the beard of Umar radiallahu anhu. He cooked it for it and brought it to her and said, bring me something. So she brought him a vessel and he poured it into it. Then he said, feed them and I will spread it out to let it cool down for them. Because they are children. He stayed until they had eaten their fill and he left the leftover food with her. He got up and I got up with him and she started to say, may Allah reward you with good. You are more suitable to be the Khalifa than Umar. You are more suitable to be the Khalifa than Umar. Because he helped her. Then Amir al-Mu'mineen, he said, say something good and if you go to Amir al-Mu'mineen tomorrow, you'll find me there. Say something good. If you go to Amir al-Mu'mineen tomorrow, inshallah you'll find me there. Come to me, you'll find me there. Then he walked some distance away from her, then turned to face them again and waited a while. I said to him, is there anything else? But he did not answer me until I saw the boys wrestling, them falling asleep. Having calmed down, then he stood up and said, praise be to Allah, the exalted, the Almighty. Then he turned to me and said, O Aslam, hunger kept them awake and made them cry. I did not want to leave until I saw what I saw. I didn't want to leave until I saw them fall asleep, and that's it. Then I left. And then she went the next day to Amir al-Mu'mineen, and who does she see there? Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, the man who helped her the night before. The man who helped her the night before. So these, the night patrols and going out at night and helping the people and seeing the people, then this is something that Umar, imagine the Khalifa radiallahu anhu, the Khalifa radiallahu anhu, and this was something that it increased in their iman, it increased in their taqwa, it increased in the good that they did when they saw the situation of the people, when they saw the status and how the people were living. This increased from the iman of Umar radiallahu anhu. This increased from his firmness in his actions that he had took or the actions that he did. It wasn't a matter of just going out at night and just doing that which the people do and then returning home. No, it was a means of what? It was a means of increasing the iman. And to see the situation of the people. To see the situation of the people. During the day, everyone's out, everyone's working, everyone's shopping, buying, coming and going. There's not much that you can tell. Unless there's actual clear haram that's taking place. But usually within the Muslim societies or within the Muslim areas, inshallah that's the way, that during the day you don't see much happening. There's not much haram that takes place during the day. But once the sun sets, this is when the what? This is when the haram begins. This is when the shayateen, they come out. So just being there at night, walking around, witnessing, learning, hearing, this is how you study your society. This is how you know the needs of the people. This is how you see what is driving the people to do the haram, or taking them to the haram, or doing with them the haram. You watch. You watch and you observe yourself. And then even though he had people who used to watch around and look, but when you see it for yourself, it's different. When you observe it for yourself, it's different. It was also narrated by Aslam, the freed slave of Umar radiallahu anhu, said that whilst I was with Umar ibn al-Khattab, as he was patrolling Medina, he got tired and leaned against the wall in the middle of the night. He's an old man, radiallahu anhu. He got tired and he leaned on a wall, and he heard a woman saying to her daughter, "Oh my daughter, get up and mix that milk with water." Now we mentioned that from the matters in the marketplace that he had forbidden is for the person to mix water, or to mix with milk water. So instead of it being 4 liters, now it's 6 liters. So he used to forbid this, and he used to be able to tell if it's been mixed just by looking at it. If he looked at a pot and he saw that it was mixed, it would be thrown out. This is clear ghash. This is clear corruptness from selling that which is not what it seems like, or not what it is. Man ghashana falaysa minna, or man ghasha falaysa minna. So this mother is telling her daughter at night, no one watching, there's no one there, "Oh my daughter, get up, take that milk, mix water with it." She said, "Oh my mother, what about the decree of Amir al-Mu'mineen, that anyone who is caught with mixing milk and water, there's punishment 1, 2, 3. She said, "What was his decree?" She said, "He commanded his caller to cry out, 'Do not dilute milk with water.'" She said to her, "Oh my daughter, get up and dilute the milk with water, for you are in a place where neither Umar nor his caller can see you." Umar can't see you, his caller can't see you. Get up and dilute the milk with water. Where's Umar now? Where's his caller now? None of them can see you. The girl said, "By Allah, I will not obey him in public and disobey him in private." Umar heard all of that, then he said, "Oh Aslam, mark the door and remember where it is." The mother's telling the daughter, dilute the milk with water. The daughter is saying, "No, I will not obey Amir al-Mu'mineen in public and disobey him in private." It goes against everything. To obey in private, this is nifaq. This is hypocrisy, clear-cut hypocrisy. To show the good in public, in front of him, and then in private to go and do the total opposite. And do the total opposite of what the person is doing. And what the person is doing in public. So he said to him, "Mark the door and remember where it is, O Aslam." Put a mark on the door. Then he carried on with his patrol. The next day he said, "O Aslam, go to that place and see who said that and who she said it to, and whether they have a husband. Go and see if they are married, if they are, or if she has a husband." He went to the place and found a single girl with no husband, and the other woman was her mother who had no man also. He came to Umar and told him, and Umar called his sons. "Come. Does any of you, or is any of you need a woman to marry? Is anyone looking to get married? If your father had an energy, none of you would beat him to this girl." He says, if your father or my sons had any energy to get married, no one would beat me to her. But your father has no more energy. There's no more energy left in me. Abdullah ibn Umar, the famous Sahabi, said, "I have a wife. I'm married, I'm not in need of a wife." Abdurrahman, he said, "I have a wife also." Then Asim, one of his sons, he said, "Oh my father, I do not have a wife, let me marry her. Let me get married to her." He sent for the girl and married her to Asim. She bore for him a daughter, and that daughter had a daughter, and that granddaughter was the mother of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, the famous Khalifa radiallahu anhu. That which is considered the fifth of the Khulafa al-Rashideen. So his son Asim got married to her. She had a daughter. That daughter had a daughter and had a son who was Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, who was the Khalifa of the Muslimin, who is considered the fifth righteous Khalifa of the Muslimin. From what? From the righteousness of the mother and father. From the sight of Umar radiallahu anhu, that he saw this girl and how she was, and her obedience to the truth and the obedience to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Bring her here. One of you get married to her. Because she's what? She's a girl who has righteousness, purity in her. So go get married to her. And from that was an offspring who was Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, whose story is more than known and more than famous. Who's considered to be, we have the four Khulafa al-Rashideen, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali. He's considered to be the fifth. The fifth Khalifa al-Rashid, even though he came after the generation of the Tabi'een, not the Sahaba, after the generation of the Tabi'een, radiallahu anhu. And to show you the offspring upon this. Even Umar radiallahu anhu, during his night patrols, he would learn the status, the situation, the needs of the people who were around him. And this is a job that even being the Khalifa, even being the person in charge, the president you can say, he still took it upon himself to go out there and to learn the needs of the people and to learn what the people are in need of. And not only that, he would pray Fajr and he would pray Tahajjud and he would rest for a couple of hours and then he would get up and he would continue his day-to-day work. And that's why when he was found once lying on a tree, resting himself, the people, they said what? That you have been put a Khalifa and you have done justice for what you have done, you have given it all that you have, now you have the right to rest, O Amir al-Mu'mineen. That's why Umar radiallahu anhu, when he looked at what Abu Bakr used to do, and then when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu passed away, he said, you have made the job very hard for the one who comes after you. Because of what Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu he used to do. One of the things we mentioned that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, that he did, is that all of the money that was given to him as a wage for being the Khalifa, he was given a certain amount of money, a wage. Before his death, he told his daughter Aisha to go and to sell a piece of land that he had given to Aisha. He had given that land to Aisha. He said, go and sell it for your father if you want to, yani. He said, why should I sell it? He said, go and sell it, for I want to return all the money that was given to me as wages, give it back to Bayt Mal al-Muslimin. And the 2.5 years, 3 years of wages that he received from Baytul Mal, he returned it all. He returned it all. He says, so I don't stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with anyone have anything upon me, or anyone has anything on me. And then Umar radiallahu anhu, Uthman, the same thing. When he looked at Umar and what Umar used to do, he says, oh Umar, you have made it very hard for the person who comes after you. How is he going to keep up? How is he going to keep up, the one that comes after you, when he sees that which you have done and that which you have left and you have done for the people in Medina, and when you have done for the people who lived around Medina and the whole Khilafah and the whole lands of the Muslimin. That's why when an earthquake happened at the time of Umar, and if an earthquake or anything natural used to take place at the time of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam or time of the Sahaba, this used to be something that was taken as a sign. It was mentioned that the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, whenever the wind would pick up and the wind would blow a bit harder than it used to, his face used to go pale. His face used to go pale. So this is, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned in the Qur'an, He destroyed nations through wind. This is a soldier from the soldiers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So an earthquake took place at the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, and he said, "O people, this earthquake is only because of some sins that you are committing. This earthquake that happened, we don't have earthquakes in Medina. This earthquake that happened only happened because of sins that you are doing. By the one in whose hand is my soul, if it happens again, I will leave and not stay among you again." If another earthquake happens, I'm packing up and I'm leaving. I don't want to be in a position or a place where the ghadab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of the people who are sinning, will befall upon them. He says, if it happens again, I'm going to leave. And that's why when we study the Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar that took place at the time of Umar, you understand why they said that Umar was the what? Was the door in front of fitna. That as long as Umar was there, the door was closed. No one could open that door. Why? Because of his firmness. Because of his ability to go out. And his ability, people think that Umar was a person who was just dry and staunch and kada. No, that's got nothing to do with being firm. The person can be firm on his deen, firm on his religion, but at the same time, he's not the person who people run away from him, or he doesn't smile, or he doesn't do this. No. Umar, the famous story, when the man wanted to come to Umar and he wanted to complain about his wife to Umar. So he comes to the door of Umar and he hears the wife of Umar yelling at him. He hears the wife of Umar yelling at Umar. So he came to complain to Umar about his wife. So he comes, he's about to knock the door, he hears the wife of Umar yelling at him. So he says, if the Amir al-Mu'mineen is copying a yelling from his wife, then who am I to complain? So he went back and he came to Umar later on. He says, I wasn't to come, but I heard kada kada. He said, this is an-nisa. An-nisa are like that. He says, if she raised her voice a bit, if she did, you get up and you hit and you, no. You take, you accept, and you respond in kindness. That's why before that, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when the wives of the Prophet ﷺ were gathered around the Prophet in his house, and they had raised their voices a bit, they were talking amongst them in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ. As soon as they heard the knock of Umar, they all went to the corners and they sat down and they went quiet. They got scared. As soon as they heard the knock of Umar. So Umar walks in, he goes, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he made dua on them. He goes, you fear Umar and you don't fear the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You fear me and you don't fear the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveal verses of hijab and reveal verses of such and such. And then that's where verses were revealed concerning these matters. That's why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said that if there are going to be muhdathun or muhaddathuna ba'di lakana Umar. He says if there was going to be people who would receive revelation without prophecy, receive ilham, inspiration, it would be Umar. It would be Umar. Why? Because of their status, because of what they put in for the deen. That's why the greatest job that the person can be given is Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar. To enjoin the good, even if it's amongst his family, even if it's amongst the people who are close to him. To enjoin the good and forbid the bad, even if it's the people who are close to him. Unfortunately today, you have people who under their own roof, the haram is being done and he doesn't do anything about it. And the person doesn't do anything about it. No enjoining of the good, no calling to the good. The person, the father, the mother have children who are teenagers and they still don't call them to even pray. Don't wake them up for Fajr. The child, he's 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. Don't call him, wake him up for Fajr. Why don't you wake him for Fajr? Oh, he's too tired. Oh, he'll wake up, he's still small. Setu Zghir. The kid, he's taller than his father, but he's still small. Setu Zghir. The child, the daughters are being raised in households and there's no control. Why? Because there's no Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar. And this has to be embedded. The person can't just wake up and the child is 20, 25 years old, and then I wanted to wake up to myself, oh, I want to do enjoining the good, forbidding the bad. No, it's a process from what? It's a process. The ulama, they say that the process of raising the children begins with the pregnancy of the wife. The pregnancy of the wife. That's when the raising of the child begins. That's when the raising of the child begins. They made the studies that have been made that the child, while he's in the stomach, the womb of the mother, at the 7, 8 months, 9 months, the child hears, listen, responds. They tell you to speak to the child. And they did a study that a mother at the age, from when the child was young until the age of 2, 3 years old, all the mother used to put, even when she was pregnant, she would put Qur'an. She would leave Qur'an on. Surah Al-Kahf, Surah Yasin, Surah Al-Baqarah. She would put these surah on. So by the age of 3, the child had memorized all of these surah. Surah Al-Kahf, Surah Al-Baqarah, memorized them all by the age of 3. Today the child's at the age of 3, come teach your child Al-Fatiha. No, he's still young. What can he make? He's 3 years old. But yet the child is there on the iPad, on the iPhone, and able to open YouTube and put in. Why? Because there's no Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi al Munkar, even at the young age. People think that Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi al Munkar, enjoining the good, forbidding the bad, is something that is done with a stick in hand and yelling and this. No, that's got nothing to do with Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi al Munkar. The child at a young age, preserve, protect. And this is why Umar, he took it upon himself to do what he used to do. From the night patrols, from going out to the markets. He used to go out to the markets with his stick. Because unfortunately there are people out there that don't learn. They don't learn, and they don't, unless they see some people, as soon as they saw Umar and they saw his stick, they'll do tawbah. They'll repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, I'll repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before the stick reaches me. And I'll return to Allah. People are like that. Some people are like that. But the enjoining the good and forbidding the bad, that's why nahna in the beginning we mentioned the benefits on the person himself and the dangers on the person himself. Ad'aful iman, the weakest point of iman is to hate it in your heart, and that's it. Doesn't go beyond that. That's the weakest of iman. What does the weakest of iman mean? The lowest point of iman, weakest point of iman. And on on the ummah itself, punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why Umar radiallahu anhu, he gave the importance to this issue, and he gave the importance to this matter. Inshallah ta'ala, next week we'll talk about the importance and the concern that Umar, he gave for the ilm, for knowledge, and the ulama and the scholars of Islam during his time, and how during his time it prospered, and how ilm was widespread. Because now you don't only have Medina as a hub of the Muslimin, you have new areas that have become the hubs of the Muslimin, with people flocking into Islam, and you need people to teach them their deen. You need people, scholars, ulama, and a lot of the great scholars of Islam came in the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu wa ardah. And then after that we'll speak about the infrastructures that were done at the time of Umar. You had new cities that were done, infrastructure, all of these things that you won't even imagine of. That the Muslimin and Umar radiallahu anhu, he planned everything out. Everything was planned and everything was done. And the judiciary system and the financial system, these are also things that we're going to speak about, how it was all set and done in ways that people, if they were to follow it today, as the people themselves, they say, that if we were to follow how it was done at their days, then you have no country in debt and you have no country in need of anyone. The economics and the financial treasury and the treasury of the Muslimin, and then after that the conquers and the opens in the time of Umar. And then inshallah ta'ala, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us life to live, we'll begin with the life of Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu anhu wa ardah, and then Ali, and wallahu a'lam where we'll go after that. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I wanna be in Jannah, 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 Jannah. Every Muslim dreams to be up in Jannah, Jannah, Jannah. A pious person's destiny. Inshallah in Jannah, 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 Jannah.